Hi, you're listening to John Dale from GlobalNet. I had a call from one of our clients called Bill. Uh, Bill had a problem. He was a new customer actually. He had a problem and he needed a fan fixed in the shower recess. Uh, and he wanted some other little electrical works done around the house. So I arranged a site visit. We don't charge for our visits and quotes. Um, and when I went there, there was no access whatsoever to the fan that was in a bathroom recess, in a shower recess. So in inspection and doing some measurements, and we did have the good luck of having downlights in the shower recess, which allowed us to put a camera up and have a look at what was going on. Um, what we found was by doing some measurements and taking some pictures of the old fan that we could actually create enough space to put to pull the old fan out through the rain shower head. Now, the rain shower head is a device or a shower head that sits on the ceiling, and it's about 300 mil by 300 mil. Uh, Not that we're familiar with the plumbing works of a shower unit like that, but we believed that we could be able to cut out a little bit more of the gyprock behind that without making and leaving any residual scars. Um, the second task that Bill wanted was that um, to repair a stairway LED section of. He had one section of 17 stairway LEDs that was failing. Um, he asked us, could we replace it? Now, so the first thing with those sort of steps, the problem that was identified was that we don't know how many watts per meter it is. Um, we're not quite sure the supplier name, and it's not easy to find. So in our quotes, we don't usually start to do work, which is what would be required. We have to make an educated guess based on what we see, and often I can tell the color of or color tones of the LEDs or the temperature as we know it normally. The third expression of interest was for a problem that occurred with the cupboard or the benchtop lights being left on all the time. And when we quote, as I say, we don't touch anything particularly unless we have to, but we have to make an educated guess as to what the problem could be. In this case, I figured it would be well, it was possibly the LED strip or the actual light switch. What was happening here was that the light was permanently on, so it was more likely to be a switch problem. So we arranged for the quote so that we change the switch. But after doing that on-site evaluation, then we put together a quote and covered the risks that we felt that we had, in particular for the shower and for the stairway, because we don't know with the stairway LEDs whether they're 12 volts or 24 volt style LEDs. And we provided the quote, asked Bill for some feedback just to make sure that we'd covered all the items that he wanted to cover. And sure enough, and he said, well, that was rather expensive, but he realized it was a bit tricky. In a job like this, we do go out on a limb sometimes because it's slightly plumbish, right? You've got to be a bit of a plumber to understand, what has got to happen in order to drop this rain shower head, right? I don't know them intimately, so when we came to do the job, we reviewed the job with the customer, make sure we know what we're up against, and get to uh, agree with the scope of works again. And the first job was the bath shower, the shower head, and working out how to take a shower head if you haven't done it before can take a little while. I mean, these things they seem obvious, right? So you put a screwdriver to unclip what you think is the manner of unclipping. And sometimes it happens straight away, and sometimes it takes quite a while, like on this occasion, because the clipping mechanism was so fastidious, it was tough, and you're not sure if you're doing it the right way. So you have to have a lot of faith and confidence and really go for it. And with that confidence, we managed to release the clips on the fascia of the shower so that we could see the screws behind it. When we saw the screws behind it, we had to unscrew the whole plastic assembly that comes with the pipe that comes off of the ceiling for the shower. Then we have to undo the nut that tightens the pipe onto the shower head and remove that. And now we're ready, and we've got access to the gyprock behind, and we identify and mark and cut the 250 millimeters that we need, and we need to be quite careful because we don't want to lose the gyprock around the fixing holes. Otherwise, we're going to end up with a big problem. By carefully cutting those sections out and rounding them off, we now have access to the fan. We do a few tests because we don't know if it's the fan necessarily, or if it's not plugged into the fan properly, or indeed whether it's a switch. So the first item was the switch, actually, which we already tested. Now it was the fan, and we checked the plug to make sure the plug was good, and it was indeed. So now we removed the fan, and because we identified the fan during a quote inspection, we had the right fan with us, which, after taking out the old one and managing to squeeze it through our hole, squeezing the new one up through the hole, retaping it, securing it up onto the timbers in the ceiling and testing it. It worked beautifully. And then the reassembly of the shower head and subsequently testing to make sure everything was drip free and the fan was working. So that job could have done with a plumber probably, but as I say, when we check these things, we feel like we've got certain competencies, and we did manage to do that with those competencies. Then we went on to the LED steps. Now, each of these steps was about a metre and a half wide. The failing step, we pulled the lead strip out of its like its recessed position. When we pulled it out, we checked for the voltage on the end of the LED strip. Unfortunately, in this case, it wasn't an LED strip problem. There was a fault in that there was no voltage present on the LED strip. So the LED strip was probably okay. Indeed, we disconnected the LED strip and put it onto our 12 volt supply just in the kitchen on a plug, and found that it was working fine. Unfortunately, the customer had no idea in this two-story monstrous home where the drivers for the LED strips, the drivers are little black boxes that convert from 240 volts to 24 volts in this case. And so we went up into the ceiling and had a look try to find the set of drivers that were driving this stairway. Um, we went into the garage, we went to the switchboard, we went behind the switches of the two-way light switches on the upstairs and downstairs section of this wall, and we could not find an LED driver. So the only option I had was either to say, well, look, I can't help you, or when I had a look at it, I could see that one section had more like a 2 to 2.5 meter lead strip going around the bottom of the stairs. And I suggested to the client that we could wrap around the stairs from the existing lead, which we'd taken out, and tie onto the step below LED and extend that power that was going to that one to the original lead strip that we were fixing. To which he agreed, and we approached that. It did mean that we had a little bit of cable being somewhat exposed on the outside of the stairway, but he had a black balustrade which sufficiently hid it, and we put a grey tape which was very similar to the grey tiles over the little red and black wires that went between the steps. Anyway, the job was done and fixed. It worked very well, and then we moved on to the switch downstairs in the kitchen, where just taking the switch off, we found that there was many wires, a very difficult switch to take off and put on, because the careless, I would call it, wiring and the accumulation of wires and the lack of space behind the switch. However, we did manage to find the problem. We did have to change the switch anyway, and after changing the switch, did our test, put the switch back on the wall, and that was all done, and Bill was very happy. And Bill has done us a review, and this story is just to tell you about the versatility that one needs. You either get somebody that says no thank you, or somebody that's willing to take a risk and say, yes, I'll do that because I feel like we've got the competencies, and that's what you'll get from Glove Hunted. So the result was a very happy client that was willing to give us a 5-star review, and I've given you the story in its entirety, probably too much. Thanks. Bye.